is up, YouTube? Alright, this is the beginning of the Burn the Money's golf YouTube channel. So, today I just wanted to make a video talking about some advice, some tips for beginner golfers, and just some things that I personally wish that I had known when I first got started golfing, and maybe just passing along that advice to you guys, and sort of give people an idea of where they can get started in a number of different areas when it comes to golf. So let's go ahead and get started. We're just going to talk about some things on course that maybe you want to know about. So the first thing I would suggest is just sort of reading up on basic rules and basic etiquette in golf. This can go a long way, especially if you're coming from more like competitive team sports. You can find a lot of that information on just the U.S. Golf Association's website, but you can also find a lot of the stuff on USGA's Instagram page, which I'll link below. Another thing that I would say is don't be afraid to play up a tee box. So, these are not the ladies' tees anymore, and I think any golfer should feel completely comfortable playing from the forward tees for a few different reasons. One, you're going to have more fun. And also, don't worry about keeping your score. You can sort of keep a casual score, but if you don't take your score too seriously when you're first getting started, golf is very hard. And it's more about just focusing on the shots you hit and having fun out there. We talked about basic rules and etiquette. Pace of play is a big thing with etiquette. So you got to be aware of people in front or behind where you're hitting. You know, you don't want to sit there and hit 3 balls when there's a group behind you in the play. But if the course is open, don't be afraid to, drop another ball and try the shot again, because playing on course is where you're going to learn the best. I mean, you can learn a lot on the range, which is the next thing we're going to get to. Sort of developing a practice regimen for yourself. This again, it can be as extensive or limited as you have time to allow it to be. I would definitely suggest finding a good driving range near you, especially in the spring and summer. I would definitely look to try to use a grass driving range, because hitting off the mats can be deceiving, especially for like your point of contact on the ball. But at the same time, hitting off a mat is better than not having repetitions at all. I definitely would recommend starting when you get to the range with like a short iron, like an 8 iron, 9 iron, or even like with wedges, and just working on getting a solid tempo and pace. Don't get in there and just start jacking jacking drives as hard as you can. It's not going to help you out. It's going to wear you out, and also you can kind of develop bad swing habits that way. Short game practice is something that people overlook a lot, but really more than anything, if you go practice your short game and working on your chipping and your just like green side variety of shots, whether that is where you're going to get like the most improvement in your game. You can really like get around and sort of shoot a score that would surprise yourself, just because you're going to save so many strokes around the green. Then the next thing I want to get into really is equipment. So everybody's always wondering, they get into golf, it's very exciting, and then you start finding out that there's just this like candy land of just a million different clubs you can buy and stuff like that. And a lot of people get trigger happy. They sort of don't know what they need, so they end up just overspending for clubs that they're going to end up moving out of in a quickly, or maybe that they don't have the skill level to really even use yet. Where I think with irons especially, you can buy used irons and get a great deal, and you're gonna get a similar result in your game than you would from using new irons. And well, let's just start with where to even look. So I mean, you can definitely go to thrift stores like Goodwill, to Play It Again Sports, stores like that. But if you're going to look online, I would definitely start with looking on like Craigslist in your area, Facebook Marketplace in your area. And then once you get sort of more familiar with the golf manufacturer world and stuff, you start knowing what to look for. Another good place to look, in my opinion, is Mercari. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I sell golf clubs on Mercari. I just find that the buying and shipping is very convenient compared to eBay, but eBay definitely has a much wider variety of used clubs on there. And I would definitely use eBay as a barometer for the value of what used clubs should be worth. A big thing to look out for, especially with irons, is cavity backed irons. You want to get cavity backed irons when you're first starting out. People who have, mastered their swing are going to end up using a more like bladed or muscle backed, is what it's called, style club, because you can work the ball more, which is basically you can put more spin and cut on it. You can draw it more. So that's for people who are trying to work the ball and trying to do that. But for us just getting started, we just want it to go straight. So we're going to use cavity backed irons because they just give you a lot more forgiveness. You're going to get a lot more distance. You're going to have a lot more fun. When you're looking online at clubs, make sure that you're checking in the details, that you're not buying clubs that have been, customized. They'll say things like +3/4, that means that the shafts are lengthened for a taller person, or -1/2, that means they've been cut down for somebody who's shorter. Now maybe you are, taller or shorter. Let's say you're 6'4", then you might want to look for clubs that are, +1. Or if you are 5'6" or something like that, like a male 5'6", you might want to look for, -1/2 inch club, something like that. So, and the internet's your friend. You can type in your height and stuff like that, and you'll sort of see the basic charting specs of what you would typically use at your, the average person at your height would use. Then the next thing I'll say is, don't be afraid, if you like golf and you want to start playing, don't be afraid to just go ahead and get a lesson right off the break. Biggest thing is when you first start, you're going to end up probably just grooving in like bad habits, which then you're going to later have to go back and like fix. So if you were to get just one lesson, that alone would give you a really good starting point. And maybe, you're not going to walk out of there like puring it and be amazing. And maybe at first it might even screw you up, or so you think. But I promise over time, if you like get a lesson and sort of apply the like drills and tips that they give you, you're going to end up appreciating it and making it more fun for you to play the game. If you can't really afford to get a lesson, I think some good places to start online would be like Mike Bender. He has a ton of stuff on Instagram. Tom Segudo Golf on YouTube. I'd say the biggest thing is if you find somebody who gives out golf advice online and you use it and it's helping you, I would just sort of try to stick with only like a couple people. Like if you're just taking in golf advice from every single little clip you're seeing, and you're trying to apply all of that at once, it's going to be a tragedy. It's going to be like, a plane crash when you get out there, because you're going to be overthinking. You're not going to be focusing on just sort of like a relaxed, grooved, tempoed swing. You're going to be like, oh yeah, hands in, feet this way, elbows out, and it's going to be impossible to play the game that way. So another thing, which then goes back to even like with the practice segment we talked about, don't be afraid to film yourself. Just sort of look online and see the right angle to set up your camera behind you, and just sort of film yourself while you're at the range and go back and watch, and you're going to start noticing the things you're doing wrong. And it's usually people kind of like throwing their back shoulder, coming over the top and slicing. So which is something I still struggle with to this day. And then the final thing I want to talk about is sort of stat and handicap tracking apps, and also the included GPS apps that those come with, how valuable those are, and I definitely suggest you download them. So 18 Birdies is a good one, and The Grint is another great one, and I will link both of those below. So on there you can make a profile and you can add friends and you can post pictures and content, but more importantly you can track your scores on there, the GPS like yardage on every hole related to your phone, so to show you like the front, middle, and back distance for each green from where you are, and it's really like user friendly, so once you get on there and start playing around you're going to figure out how to use it pretty quickly. So I hope this video is helpful. I'm going to keep making more content. Hopefully the quality will keep improving and the content will keep being stuff that people are interested in. But yeah, so you can follow me on here. I'm on TikTok a lot. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. So yeah, appreciate you coming by, checking out the channel, and subscribe for more, and let's get it going.